Thank you very much, and again, good afternoon. As I said earlier, this is our last segment of this wonderful summit, Day 1 conversation. And we thought it would be a good idea probably to end this conversation by addressing some of the issues that we talk about when we address the concept of AI. And one of the most important idea that people talk about, whether it's correct or not, whether it's right or wrong, whether it's true or false, we will probably try to figure that out, is actually the fact that AI is going to be a major threat on the labor market, on our jobs. And I'm fine, if you will, with AI as long as it does not touch my job. But if AI is going to touch my job, then probably I will be the first person to resist that digital transformation inside the company, inside the organization, or inside the government. So if you can show the first slide of my presentation, it will show you simply this, which is, you can remove the sound if you want. And this is basically what we know, if you will, about AI. It's going to be robotics. It's going to be replacing people at manufacturing, and it's going to be a threat, if you will, to our even job security. In this video, what you will see, you see actually some major robotics basically doing the job in a more efficient, more effective, and in a faster, better, and cheaper way than the individual. So, is this our future? This is what we'd like to address with my colleagues here. So let me first of all address the general question. What is your take on this idea that robotics, AI will be a major threat to the labor market in the future?
Thank you, Sid. I'll go with that question more from a technologist perspective first. I think we all have to agree on the fact that automation is very much there. It's not there now, it's been there for quite some decades now. As from this video itself, you can see automation in manufacturing industry has been there since Industry 2.0, continuing 2.0, and we're all talking about 4.0 already. And one thing that we should also bear in mind that Industry 4.0 is actually revolving a lot about the human being, the human factor, that automation and robotics, because this is already there in the manufacturing line. And now we're talking about more about robotics up here. I mean, we're talking more about artificial intelligence across processes. So I would tend not to look at it as a threat, but more as an enabler, more as a capacity building kind of factor to the workforce. This is how we at it to start with. But as many of the other speakers said earlier also, I mean, we're still at the kind of nascent stage of the technology, of the whole subject matter. One thing that I had a very good chat during lunch with Dr. Shateeaum as well, I think we also kind of agree that AI is mainly a subject, not just a technology. Right? We've got technology related to AI, but AI itself is not a technology, it's a whole subject matter that we need to kind of develop properly. And alongside of it, I think different speakers also has been mentioned about the governance side of it, which will be important. And before I elaborate further on the threat of it, I would say if we look at history, human beings have always been resilient to development, to revolutionize kind of factors that step in the economic landscape or social landscape. So I'm confident that we're going to manage it through governance, through different councils that have been set up, the whole impact on the workforce.
Very good. That's an interesting idea. You injected here the idea of governance, the idea of good planning, the idea of actually thinking ahead of this big transformation. Gopal, what's your take on actually looking at the positive side, like the robotics improving, creating more efficiencies in assembly lines and in job in general?
I start with two examples of what I think exemplify the pros and cons of automation and AI. One example is one place which used to be one of the loudest places on earth. It used to be the New York stock market. People shout all the London stock market. People shouting orders across the floor, putting taking orders, buy and sell, etc. And right now it's just quite this place you can go to, just humming with computers, making orders and buying and selling. That's made the software more efficient, but also more likely to flash crashes, as we call them. So AI bids at light speed and crashing the market and being exploited by rogue traders as well and by large corporates as well sometimes. So we need to be careful with what we automate and understand the pros and cons and understand how to regulate those. Another example is the washing machine. The washing machine is a kind of automation that's given us lots of free time, right? This generation, my generation, can't live without a washing machine. We would never imagine going and washing clothes in buckets and on stoves, etc. But the older generation might still be comfortable with having a maid to wash his clothes and only slowly realizing that, okay, you can free up lots of time and let people do more interesting jobs. But you're then taking jobs away from low-skilled people. Where will you place them? Right. So you have, for example, in the US, there's a huge problem coming up with the automation or the autonomy being given to long-haul trucks. So these kind of trucks ferry huge cargo across the US, and these are drivers driving these trucks. It's a huge business because they don't have lots of railway lines in the US. So these people are going to lose their jobs as soon as we have autonomous trucks that can drive on motorways and drop stuff at main points. Where are we going to employ them? What are they going to do? Are we going to start taxing companies that use autonomous cars, autonomous vehicles? Or that use robots at home or use robots on the workbench? In the UK, the Labour Party has suggested there will be a robot tax to help us pay for or compensate those that will lose their jobs as a result of automation. So these are interesting questions that are going to come up, and we don't know yet how things are going to pan out in different countries. In some countries like the US, they are really at risk when it comes to long-range transport. In the UK, we don't have that much of a problem with it. In Mauritius, low-skilled jobs may be a serious problem. In the textile industry, in the domestic cleaning services industry, etc., maintenance industry, facilities management, these are all going to be at risk. So we need to start thinking about what sectors within the countries that are going to be affected and start working out solutions where we place those people and how do we train them.
Very good, thank you so much. Ashish, what's your take on this idea that in many ways we are victim of our own progress? We become smarter, we make machines that are more efficient, but also we have to inherit in some ways that we have to lose certain jobs, and more importantly, we have to accept that as reality. In a lot of countries, actually, you see some of the changes that are taking place, and I'm referring here to the US. The changes in politics are primarily the result, if you will, of that change in the labor market, that some segments of the population, they couldn't fit this movement of globalization that starts about maybe 10 years ago and that really accelerated the technology. So what's your take?
Yeah, thank you. First of all, to have me here. Coming from my group of people, I'll talk about people. I would say very little resources. See, what's very interesting about the start of the video, right? A few days ago, I was watching the news, one world news actually. It was about General Motors closing down 5 factories. It's about 50% of truck. One of the things is the big country talk about people going to electric vehicles, I guess that's they're losing the market share. That brings the question about sustainable leadership. Is leadership at every level, whether it's organizational or governmental, undertaking sustainability? Fine, your automation. It's inevitable. The question is, what are 3 people doing there? The first person is the person itself, the employee. What is the employee doing about it? Second question is about the enterprise. What's the enterprise doing about it? And third is the regulators, the government. What are they doing about it? Me as a person, if I see the pace of change, I see what's happening, but I don't do anything about it. I think that my job is for life. I think I'm in a problem there. What about the businesses? They see what's going on, they see the trend, they see the changes. What have they done about it? Have they prepared the people for that change? Yeah, some of them do. They send them on training. But the pace of the change is so quick that the training, the upskilling isn't happening at the same time. So we have a problem. And third comes the governments, the regulators, or the decision makers. What are they doing about making things happen? You asked me the question about, in some shape and manner, I'll talk about ACTA with the minimum wage of $15 an hour. Today, it just makes sense that in fast foods, you go for automation to even deliver products, which wouldn't make sense before. Because when the legal cost was at a certain level, it made sense to have heavy human capital, right? But now, when the cost is so high, it just makes sense to go for automation. And the same goes for farming. If you look at it, certain Asian countries, heavy human capital, whereas if you're going to European markets, it's mechanized. So, yeah, it's inevitable there's going to be such change. But maybe later on, we've got some topics about it. We can talk about our jobs going to be lost.
Very good, thank you. Well, if it is okay to accept the idea that as we become more efficient and more proficient in our jobs, most likely we're going to be losing certain jobs, then let's talk about what are the jobs that you believe are going to be replaced, and what are the jobs that artificial intelligence will never be able to replace. I think if we cast the debate from a policy-making point of view from that perspective, then the choices are going to be clear. I want to focus on the things that I am going to gain rather than I'm going to lose. So, can we think of, for instance, of the type of jobs that we're losing? Are these old jobs, new jobs, in between? And what are the jobs that artificial intelligence will never actually replace and will never actually... what's your...
It's a very, very good question, actually, quite broad. I think most of us are reading quite a number of studies nowadays being carried because it's going to have such pervasive and cutting across all activities of any economy in society. And if we look at the different studies and different sources we're looking at, I mean, clearly today, I mean, we used to say, we know about it, I mean, over 60% of the job to exist in 2025 doesn't even exist today. Because there's a huge evolution in even organizational structure, operating models. So the new profiles, the new skill sets required. I mean, it's now that it's been created. This is what everybody's saying, the future is now. It's now that it's happening, the future. And the other thing, I'll try to put that in our local context in Mauritius, because we're talking more about this particular context, and most of the friends in the room here are from Mauritius and having interest in what's happening and how the whole landscape is changing. And if we look at what's happening in the US, like 45% today of the workforce know that they are at high risk of losing their jobs in the next decade, with automation, robotics coming in, and AI coming in. So it's clear cut today that we have to be honest with regards to what's hitting us, with regards to what is disrupting the whole operating model of organizations in society. And only one thing we have to be logical about it is really about the capacity planning, the whole development plan of skills, people, capacity building. And this is where I think some of the members of the council who are also in the room, I think it's an area that needs to be looked at very urgently with regards to Mauritius and the whole economic structure of the country. So it will really kind of encompass everything that has to do with where the country wants to go, where it's heading. And actually today we are driven by the global competitive landscape. We can't decide our future alone, in isolation. So we are dictated by what's happening at the macro level globally as well. So all this will dictate how we need to structure ourselves. And to structure, we need to include that technology part, which is AI is one part of it, I'm trying to talk about blockchain, and there are many other layers that we need to add. And one thing that we are in an urgent situation is really our skill set and capacity building. This we have to look at it, and we have to face some truth. The transition is going to be painful. I won't hesitate to say the transition is going to be painful. It's going to cost in different ways, financially, socially. It's going to cost economies and organizations.
And it has been painful throughout the history. If you look at all the major transformations, when we talk about Industry 4.0 and in the previous industries, generations before us, have actually paid the price of a major shift in technology between technology 1 and technology 2. Gopal, what's your take on this idea? Some of the jobs that we will need and we don't think that artificial intelligence is going to replace, and the jobs that will be easily replaced?
Yeah, it's an interesting question which many people have tried to address in the academic community coming from various backgrounds. So one of the most famous ones, the first one from Osborne and colleagues at Oxford University, identify a set of jobs, as I said earlier, low-skilled jobs. So hairdressers, cleaners, fast food staff, etc., etc. But also, as someone mentioned earlier, jobs that are repetitive in nature and are quite rule-based. So lots of legal work is rule-based. Lots of work in financial services, whether it's trading, portfolio management, managing underwriting insurance. A number of companies are looking at automating underwriting insurance, biometric insurance for automatic claims processing. In the energy sector, you have lots of the billing side of things being taken care of automatically, seamlessly with blockchain and AI. So not just low skill, but some high skill, but repetitive, rule-based jobs will go. The question is whether we will accept these changes. In Mauritius, and many people relate to this, when you pull up to a filling station, a petrol station, someone comes and helps you to fill your car, asks you if you need to clean your windows. In the UK, we're very okay with coming out of the car ourselves, filling the car ourselves, cleaning the car ourselves, checking the tires ourselves, etc., etc. The culture is different. Will we be okay with someone else driving our car? People love to drive their cars. Some people enjoy just taking a car for a ride without any reason. Right? There's a cultural side to this which is going to impact on how jobs get phased out. Our generation is very much used, not our generation, the previous generation was very much used to a 9-to-4 job. Right? So we're used to that. Our generation is used to a 12-hour job, maybe 18-hour job sometimes, maybe a 6-day, 7-day job. But increasingly we see the new generation going towards jobs that help them live their dreams. Maybe 4 hours of work, for part of the day, doing something, the rest of the day doing something else. And there are many platforms that do allow you to do that. There are digital platforms that do allow you to do any job you want. So maybe future generations will be okay with not doing some of the jobs that we're currently doing and doing other jobs that they're really interested in.
Very good. Same question, but actually look at it from the capacity building that you spoke about, and I think in your background you are a director of learning. So what are some of the advices that you give to these new generations who are coming to learn, or actually the people who are now working in factories and not working in assembly lines? What is it that they need to do to get adapted to this new shifts that is happening?
I wish I had a simpler question. Okay, I'll try to tackle that. What are we doing to help people to shift? Let's take it from the white-collar work and blue-collar work, right? To the easy one, the white-collar. You've got certain firms who are trying to do the upskilling. I used to work for a BPO company, I'm sure, where they realized very soon that certain jobs were at very low level, high volume, low level, and this would sustain in the long run because other countries were more competitive. So they invested into language training, which meant that we could win types of contracts to go. I don't think that at certain levels it's up to the employees to cross that bridge to job zero. It sits down with business leaders, the governments to push for that change. People are very happy with the couples in general. Quite a few of us would want to go the extra mile. But to come back to some jobs which might be lost and jobs which will remain, See, a few years ago, I think it was in 2014, I remember reading an article which said that self-driving cars wouldn't be possible because of heavy traffic. I think it was 2014 that report was out because of traffic and because of all the permutations that will happen. And yes, we have them now. So the question again, I'm not a futurist, but the question again, if we can predict all the jobs that will disappear or that are going to remain, yeah, we can go back to the thinking that some tasks in the team, the high volume routine, we can be automated.
Very good. That's exactly what I wanted to hear. That's exactly what I was trying to go to, is the type of jobs that you can use and the type of jobs that you need. Before I say this, first of all, we would like to have a conversation with the audience as well. So as I said earlier, please feel free to raise your hand if you have a question and if you want to contribute to the discussion. But before I get to the audience, let me just share with you the latest study that we have that addresses specifically those radical shifts. If you could add get to my slides, I think the next slide. Can you get to my next slide, please? This one. This is the latest study from Accenture 2018, and what it said that about 27% of companies are working on process change, 34% are working on data, and about 39% are working on workforce. You see that most of people are interested or are doing a lot of work around workforce. And what that means is what you said earlier, is that they are actually preparing themselves and preparing their workforce either to upgrade their skills or actually to shift, if you will, the different jobs. But in the next slide, we're going to see the type of jobs that we are going to be losing and the type of jobs that we're going to be using. Can you go to the next slide, please? Can you go to the next slide? Another one? Another one? Good. So what you see here, they are talking about what we call the human-only activity and then the machine-only activity and then the human-machine alliance. And that's what I want the panel to reflect in. I think you said, Gopal, that the jobs that are very repetitive, these are definitely, they're going to have to go, like what we're seeing at the robotic factory. The jobs that are transactional in nature, meaning they simply require two people to do something very, very fast. But I don't think we will be able to replace the judgment. I don't think we will be able to replace the things that we are known for as a human. Gopal, what's your thought on this study?
Thanks for that. That's a very interesting slide because I recently completed a 5-year program looking at the notion of human agent collectives, the notion of human-machine alliances as we have it here. And it was all about designing systems with understanding of the key dimensions you need to look at when you design systems for human-machine collaboration. And therefore, key strands of work we focused on and are key areas that we need to worry about when we come to designing the systems and thinking about jobs. One is autonomy, flexible autonomy. So how much do we want to delegate control to the machine, or should the machine delegate control to us? That's a key aspect that may impact on our interaction with these machines. Second thing is incentive engineering. How do we incentivize humans to make decisions or machines to make decisions for the common good, to maximize social welfare, as we call it? It's a quite interesting one because we need to understand human psychology, human incentives, human motivations. The third one is to do with agile teaming. So how do you form collaborations of humans and machines as teams and make sure they work well together? And that's very difficult when human-machine interaction can vary depending on the context. So you are instructing the machine to do something, or machine instructing you to do something, can impact on the team performance. And finally, as I mentioned in the panel earlier, as machines and humans are making decisions in these collectives, we need to be able to track the provenance of decisions and data and actions. So all these mean that there are still research questions we are addressing now. And it's important to understand that to address these questions, you need to bring in multiple parties to the table, not just the scientists, not just the AI experts, but also social scientists, psychologists, economists, people from government to help advise on the legal ramifications of what is being built, in order to design systems that work well for both humans and machines, and for society. So that's where we stand.
Andrew Ahmed, who is a professor at Stanford, he's one of the most known professors in AI. I strongly suggest that you check him out. He's got a lot of videos, a lot of stuff online, and he teaches about AI. He's got actually even a course online on Coursera. And he talks that he advises CEOs and company managers and company owners about automating any job that you can do in less than 5 seconds. So if you look at the job and you can do, not a job, but a task. If you look at a task and you can do it in less than 5 seconds, that's something that you need to automate. But thinking, creating, feeling, those are very complex type of jobs, and that's what you need to create a customer experience that we have been talking about this morning. So that's the type of job that perhaps would fit into this human-machine alliance as it's worded by the study. So what's your take on this?
It's a wonderful slide that depicts and captures the way forward. And as we were saying earlier, I mean, AI can only enrich the jobs and the way we are kind of delivering experience to end users and clients and people consuming. And one thing which is clear, I mean, ultimately, human people will be the ones deciding on how to enhance AI capabilities, AI technologies. So human will have still the higher value jobs. I think we all agree today, AI will be made impact on tasks than jobs. Will maybe interfering in processes, engineering processes, right? That will just AI replacing jobs. So jobs will be there, it's just which jobs, the new functions, which will be more value add that used to be just in the past 2 decades ago in industrialization like mechanical or kind of very repetitive jobs. I think we will agree today that machines will do it way better than us and give us a better life. So it would be about enrichment of people's lives in the end. I'm quite positive and optimistic on that. It's all that we are right in a transition that will need to be managed. All major economies worldwide need to manage it in their own way based on several facets, from people availability to culture set. I mean, all this will impact each country's strategy about adoption of AI technology. In the end, it will carry the same element, how we integrate AI technology in our day-to-day lives. It could be professional life, private life, it will be integrated. And the main thing that's going to happen, I think we should look at it in a more exciting, enthusiastic manner. But of course, we need to organize ourselves to manage what's coming. It's going to be massive. And this is where we need to be really structured to put like the right pathway.
Very good point. Actually, you hit the right term. You said the manage of the transition. And the problem is that you won't be able to manage stable times. We have been in this transition for the last maybe 15 years getting into these breakthrough technologies. Let me go back to the audience, and we have one question. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, I have 2 questions. My first question is that when you look around, you see that human development, we build lots of things with the best ability of human being. Now, with the AI, all these things that we have built so far will have enhanced value. In that, they are going to get smarter with AI, right? Now, this needs lots of people, like for example, designers, coders, software developers, people who can deal with high-skilled people. How do we prepare workforce for that? I'm thinking, my question is that, can there be robots who are trained to be assistive teachers who can teach people on a mass scale? That's my first question, to solve this problem. My second question, the people who are here, who are professionals, who have already done university, but can we tap on them? Can you build on them, empower them so that they also can contribute in that world in terms of AI and any development?
Very good. Before actually we answer your question, let me just say this, that part of the conversation, part of the debate is of course the pipeline of the labor market. And what I mean by the pipeline is education and universities. In third world countries or in less developed countries, we already have a big problem, we already have a major challenge that we have to solve, before even we solve this problem, which happens to be actually the focus of more industrialized nations. And the problem that we have a very weak connection between education and the economy. In most of countries that are less developed, you see a private sector or an economy that is running, and in parallel you see actually an educational system that is running by itself. So what we need to do first is to connect or to create bridges between the educational system, the professional world, and the private sector world. Let me get back to my panelists to address the question on Shateeaum.
I'll go to the first question about how could we use eventually this technology to go for mass education, kind of distribution to the mass. I think this is, the capability is already there. If you look at how we can have access to information and knowledge today, it's very accessible, and how can we put that element of AI in there, that as well is very much in there. If you look at the simple AI technology, which is called conversational AI, we are actually conversing with the machine in your learning, your experience of acquiring knowledge. I think this is already proven today. It's working. Simple chatbots or virtual assistants to conversational AI in this sense would be one of the main avenue of kind of exploring that education in mass through machines. And this I think will flow quite well, because it's quite standardized distribution of knowledge and information and content. And we can see with the level of sophistication of tools that we have today, it can actually make it even more interesting as an experience for students, for people learning there. So on this side, I've got to notice it can come very quickly.
Very good. Gopal, what do you think? Yeah, go ahead.
Just to go back to the first question, I forgot what the second one was. Did you know that in Mauritius in the year 2006, we had a certain Dr. Santa, he was in the audience early on. He worked on his thesis about the intelligent learning system. That was in 2006, and it works, right? What's also interesting about it is that there is a very simple model, the academic know about it, the pyramid of learning, which says that your ability to retain what you're learning increases when you move further from the lecture, from the traditional lecture model. At the lecture model, you're just absorbing about 5% of what is being taught. And if you want to go further down, up to 75, 80, 90%, you've got to do it yourself, go through demos and so on. So you've got these simple methodologies which already exist on the market and which allows for that. So rather than being in a classroom, you could have a class, everyone at their home or at their own time, doesn't need to be in real time. You go through that system, and the assessments of your learning, the pace, everyone doesn't have the same pace. I'm very slow learner, you could be very quick, you could be in the same class on the board, but graduating at our own pace. So these models already exist, and we can call them AI today, but they were just intelligent learning at that time.
Very good. Yes, sir.
Coming from the education sector, from an academics point of view, I find education to be a really nice ecosystem, or a nice case study for the impact of AI on the future of work. AI, an example shown earlier, talked about AI that could mark exam scripts automatically. So read an essay, mark it, multiple choice questions that could be given and marked automatically. That's already done it. You have AI that could obviously tailor a training program to the specific student. And that's also very good. But we need to also realize that our children are not robots. The idea of having a robot teaching children is a bit scary for me, a bit sad for me. I would prefer a situation, and I think it happens in many Nordic countries, where the students can go and read all the material they want, but what they should actually be doing, and I think I'm a big fan of this, is learning by doing. Is learning by practicing, solving problems, doing things on their own, and that's how they retain most of the material that they need to learn. And that will free up time for the teacher to do the job of an educator, to actually spend time addressing the human challenges, understanding the motivations of that student, understanding his ambitions, understanding his worries, what he finds interesting or not in the subject, and how to focus the questions that the machine might be giving to the student in a way that most suits that student. So addressing the human side of things, turning teachers into proper teachers, where they actually dedicated one-on-one time to the student rather than spending 5 hours, 10 hours of marking every day for 3 weeks, after an exam, rather than spending hours doing lectures and preparing for lectures. I've suffered that. I understand the challenge. So, and it's getting worse because lots more students are going to universities, to schools. It's important we address that need in the right way. And I think it's the same thing we find in the healthcare sectors where nurses are overloaded. Can we help them do their jobs better? And many other sectors.
I think even Sophia this morning said that she can grade more efficiently, more accurately, and in a speedy way. And speaking actually about the role of doctors, a few years ago there was a study in the US and they found out that the doctor makes more than 300 clicks while he or she is talking to their patient. And if you go to, if you live in France, I got a chance to be exposed to the French culture, being from Algeria, but also living in the US. Most of people would tell me that I'd rather go to a French doctor than to an American doctor because American doctor talks to the machine rather than to the human being, rather than to the patient, while the French doctor talks actually to the patient rather than to the machines, and that keeps, if you will, the patient in better healthy morale, if you will. Any other questions or comments? Yes, sir.
So I know nowadays cybersecurity. So a few centuries ago, there was 2 people per carriage on the train. Then came Industrial Revolution, hydraulics came on. There was one person, the only job was to press the brakes on every single carriage. That was their job. Yeah? We humans, we evolve, we adapt. Okay? So I call all of this an evolution, but there is a but. I actually think it's going to be a huge problem in certain sectors, in certain professions. So I know for a fact there are a few startups in Silicon Valley that are creating bots that are programmers. They already have a bot that can create an app for iPhone in 2 minutes just by looking at plain English language requirements. Yeah? In 3 to 5 years, these bots will be able to program in 7 languages, including Java, Python, C++, which is a very complex language. That disruption alone will put out of a job millions of people. There's a lot of countries putting a lot into skilling up people to be programmers. Yeah? So, my question is, why aren't, I know that people like us trying to do more with the governments, because they are actually addressing skills at the moment. Yeah? What about all of those people that are going to lose their jobs, We really need to start to think about that right now. It's not just about skilling up young people at university and schools. All of those 40, 50, 60-year-old people and even younger, programmers will lose their jobs. That's just one of the sectors and one of the professions. Yeah? Your comments?
Very good. Well, I don't want to answer this question because I would say if they are programmers, they get us into this mess, so they have to pay a price. But remove this. This is on the record, right? Just a joke. It is true. I mean, I think what I take from your question is the following: is that within 10 years, the most knowledgeable population of this stuff is paying the price. So we're not talking about someone who has a high school diploma or someone who has a degree in history or marketing. We're talking about someone who's actually programming. That's the most valuable asset, a human asset you can have in our education today, correct? And in 7 years, they're going to have to lose the job. That's very scary, to be honest with you, because the pace is extremely fast. Go ahead, sir, please.
It's a very interesting question. Very interesting question from perspective. Actually, if we extend further what you just said, it becomes a scary part of technology and AI, because it can actually even extend conceptually to the extent of would they take over the bots, would they take over the rest in terms of the thinking process, in terms of the development process, in terms of to what extent they can go. So this issue, this kind of depth of where it can go, is on the table, as a matter of fact. Now, to what extent human beings will responsibly decide when they give us power to the pods, when they give us power to the technology, this is where different governments, different associations, different councils, at least put their heads together and decide to what extent we will allow machines to do what we want them to do, because there's other institutes we know. I mean, IBM has got their own institute working only on quantum technology. The minute we touch into quantum technology, it becomes even faster and speedier. So this is another ballgame in itself, totally different and much faster than what we're seeing today. But these things that we explored today are going to be adopted as well. So it's a question of where human beings will take the right decision in a responsible manner to keep control of what the impact to be on the whole ecosystem. But one thing for sure, coming back on the positive side of it now, I firmly believe that yes, there will be changes in some jobs, there will be changes in some tasks, there will be some loss of jobs at one point in time. It's not just about reskilling. What technology I will be able to produce, and we could see from some macro data earlier in terms of the $1 trillion kind of business potential that's out there, automatically this implies that there will be need for other resources, the jobs to be created, to be able to handle that mass of business that will be there out there. So it's all in a mathematical way that it has been modelized to say this is what we can produce with technology and AI, this is what we can expect as output, and we'll leave the resources and people. Of course, there will be a race against time. Are we ready now for that? And would some of us be ready for it? This is the painful side I was mentioning earlier.
Yes, which goes back to your idea of the governance, the conversation, the debate that needs to take place within the society and has to take place. Yes, sir.
The idea of code by itself, an algorithm writing code by itself, it's been around for quite a while. The idea of artificial general intelligence is basically an idea in some ways. But we need to keep in mind that an AI program is still a program, and someone has to write it, and someone has to debug it. So who's going to debug that program? I think it comes back to my initial point, which is if a program starts writing code based on requirements written in English, who wrote those requirements? A human wrote those requirements. How many of you, I'm not sure, lots of you come from an industry, but how many of you in the IT industry came up with a set of requirements from your client on the first day and went back on the final day delivering exactly the same piece of software as per the first set of requirements? Or did you have to go back and revisit the needs of the client, iterate 10 times before you get to the right thing, debug it and fix code, etc., etc.? And I think that's where a lot of these programmers will end up being. So they will understand, they will focus on the human needs more, formulating those requirements, architecting those systems in a way that solves human needs rather than just a set of bullet points of rule-based requirements. So there'll still be work for these guys, I think, either as debuggers of the systems or designers of the systems. It's a bit of upskilling that's needed. It's a bit of shifting focus. But then there will be some jobs lost because there will be more sophistication in terms of how we architect things, tools that help us automate certain parts of the job. But overall, there will still be jobs.
Very good. Let me actually conclude. Got a question here. Yes, sir?
It's a big question as such, but more of a comment on what you have been saying. A lot of governments, a lot of things are happening in that field. What would happen if a majority of the population has no jobs? And something interesting happened during the French presidential election as such. One of the candidates, Benraouane, proposed something that robots pay taxes. And with that money collected by government, there would be some kind of minimum wage that everyone would have in order to continue to lead a decent life. Obviously, it didn't win the elections, but the idea is there that at one point in time, there would have to be some sort of new policy decisions taken to make sure that everyone can have a decent life. Now, in parallel to this, we need also to realize that a lot of people are doing extremely boring jobs every day. Not only low-skilled people, but in ministries, for instance. And if they have to work few hours and still derive some benefit from it at various levels, even financial, then it's good for everyone. But obviously, governments will have to find ways to compensate for the diminishing, hours of work. I would like to know what you think about this.
Now that's actually a very interesting idea. It's an economist perspective, if you will, on this profound transformation that we are going through. So what would be your take on it?
I think Elias Gopal said also, that robot tax is becoming something uncommon when it's being discussed, it's coming. It's good that Agash asked the question to himself as senior advisor to the ministry, and it would be the role of people like yourselves actually to kind of push this kind of concept, which is indeed an economic way to kind of look at how we should tackle that situation. Because to manage the transition, it's going to cost, as we said, not only economically, financially, but socially as well. It will impact families, it will impact lives of people, and this is where we need to be hyper-responsible in the way we're going to look at the whole adoption, embracing that technology. I mean, already this conference is very good at its started, the first edition. I was telling the organizers earlier, I mean, we need to look at more pragmatic and I would say workshops now to really tackle each one of these challenges that is going to happen anyway. It's happening, we're going to face it. I think Dubai is a great example of it. They already appointed the Minister of AI and the advisor is here as well. So all this shows that there's transformation even at macro level, at government level, because the thinking will start from top, needs to be managed at different layers of the ecosystem.
I think that would be our last point to talk about. Just speaking about workshops, I think we have 2 workshops tomorrow or after tomorrow, is that correct? One on agriculture and the other one on emerging technology. These are workshops that will be taking place here. I want to thank you so much for being here, for helping us to figure out and understand this very complex idea. I want to thank you so much for being here until the end of the day, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you.